Go ahead and call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chad, can you please do a roll call?
Supervisor Craig?
Here.
Supervisor Thorne?
Here.
Chairman Shaler? And Supervisor Bromer?
Here.
And Supervisor Wolford called earlier and was excused.
First item on the agenda will be the citizens' concerns. Anyone here wishes to address the town board? Can I get a motion to go into a public hearing?
I'll motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Kelsey and a second by Mitch. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Who wants to start? Go ahead, Jeff.
Kelly, 1503 Caroline Street. I'd like to know how many Town of Campbell fireworks permits were issued.
20.
And were they free or were they charged for?
They were free.
Free.
Free. Can I ask maybe that the town considers charging for them? And the reason is because a lot of these fireworks are being shot up in the air and they go in other people's yards, they go on property. I also heard that one of the people in the nearby, the town hall, had fireworks laying up on the maintenance roof. And also a police officer's car or something like that. I think maybe a little price would take care of that. Maybe like $100 to $200. Maybe we can take care of some of these fireworks in the town of Campbell.
Thanks, Jeff. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Who's next? Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, I asked a couple months ago, about all the department heads are here, and why the fire chief wasn't here. Did you find out an answer on that?
Usually his wife's working on Tuesday night, so he can't make it, but Ralph, you could probably, if you need any information, you could help me.
Well, it's a deal where the rest of the department heads are here, and the fire chief, like the police chief, they speak to the department. And I know in years past, my chiefs were always here.
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. And I understand there's the three department heads. Nate's the only one that's a volunteer head. Doesn't work for the town full time. He's got a full time career, runs first responders and the fire department. Spends many nights volunteering his time. And as I mentioned before, if there's something that in particular that we need to talk about, he'd be more than happy to make sure we done that.
All right, but it's handy. Just like, Steve Pence, he's got no obligation. He doesn't get paid to be here, but yet he's here every month. We got a question for him. He's here, and that's why I think, to me, it's an obligation.
No, and I understand the concern. We've kind of went out of our way to make sure we've got some folks from the fire department board of trustees available as well if you've got any questions.
Yeah, I understand that, but there again, there's questions that are directed at the department head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I guess I just find it a little strange that, for maybe an hour a month, why he can't be here.
Well, and I guess that's the main reasons. He's not that the other folks don't, but he's got a family at home and spends many nights, like I say, volunteering here.
Yeah, there's,
so
again, the rest of our department heads got, families at home.
Do you have any questions in particular?
Well, he isn't here, so I guess at this point I don't.
Okay.
I guess the other thing is, I see you got your name on this, what is it, D? I'm just wondering, there again, being from the fire department, why, the fire chief didn't put that on the agenda, or go through the chairman and put it on the agenda rather than you.
Same reason. I'm already here, and we wanted to make sure it got brought to the attention. And that's actually submitted by the fire department board of trustees, not by the fire chief.
Yeah, there
The
again.
board of trustees is what runs the fire department.
Yeah, there again, I would think that the fire chief is a spokesman for the fire department. So I guess the ones are on the, pardon me?
The Board of Trustees chairman is here if you've got questions for him.
Yeah, I understand. This, D, I was just wondering why all of a sudden that's on the agenda for this month where it's never been on before.
Once we get to it, I will explain that to you. That,
Okay, if that's the case, then maybe the chairman, you can open that up when it comes on the agenda. If I got questions when it comes up that time, when he explains it.
Then we can go to public comment at the end too, but
Okay.
I think Ralph do a good job explaining what's up there.
Well, I think Bruce's concern is that he wants to be able to, if he has a question, not wait till the end if things are discussed and we come to a
reason-
vote. I think he wants to be able to say his piece before we do a vote.
Yeah, no
which
problem.
will- Going to public comment at the end of the meeting would work for him.
The reason that got put on, it hasn't been before, is we have been going through our bylaws and trying to make sure we're doing everything correct in the fire department. And one of the things in the bylaws states that when there's new officers or board of trustees or anybody that's on the fire department that's not a Town of Campbell resident is supposed to be approved by the board. And so the fire department's just trying to make sure that going forward we correct that. So we're gonna, and that's why we brought it up now. And in the future, it's my understanding that if if a new officer is appointed, or if we bring somebody onto the department that's not a resident, and then when the new fire department board is elected in, that will be brought before the board for approval.
Yeah, I just find it kind of strange. I've been going to these meetings over here in Campbell for 20 years and it's never been on the agenda, it's never been discussed, it's never been voted on. Now all of a sudden, it's been voted on. I mean, I guess there's a big question mark there.
Yeah, well, the fire department's been hit with a lot of frivolous open records requests lately.
Frivolous?
And, yes.
Open records requests are public knowledge. And
Yep.
anything that's taxpayer supported is fair
sure.
game for anything.
Yeah,
so
no.
I wouldn't call it frivolous.
Our
I mean,
opinion's
that's just
very.
that's a biased opinion, mine.
No, that's my opinion. You're right. But because of that, we have been looking through to make sure we're doing stuff right. So, and that's never been done before. And you're right. And it's something that we've just completely overlooked.
I would think that's an awful big thing to overlook. I mean, how long has your bylaws been in place?
40 years, something like that.
46 was
Yeah,
And
46
it's
years.
never been done before?
Yep, and nobody's, to my knowledge, has ever asked about it before.
That's beside the point. When you're running a department, you got bylaws and a policy and procedure manual, and that's what you go by.
Yeah.
And people that are running that department should be up to date on that stuff and bring it forward as years go by.
Yeah, no, you're probably not wrong, and that's why it's here today. We're trying to correct that action.
But what about all these other years that it was never done?
I can't go in the past.
It had been brought, it was just never on the minutes. It was brought up by the chief other years.
It's never been acted on by the town board.
It was brought to their knowledge. Whether they voted on it or not over the years, that's up to them.
Aren't they knowledgeable of what's in their policy and procedure manual and their bylaws?
I think it's coming to a point you're just looking for somebody to argue with right now. And I'm
Well,
not-
if you want to argue, I'll
No, I don't want to
with you.
argue. I'm just saying, in the past, we have brought it up, and then it just got overlooked for a few years. Now we're trying to rectify it, and you're trying to make a,
No, I'm not. I'm just like all the other departments. You got a policy procedure manual, someone got a working agreement or a contract. Whoever's the leadership in the department should be on top of that and carry on with this stuff as time goes on. And now all of a sudden it's just showing up. I think it's rather peculiar that all of a sudden now, for the first time in all these years, that it's being acted on.
Okay, Bruce, you got anything else? I guess our 5 minutes probably up. Anything else, real quick?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Lee.
Oh boy. We'll start out the light side. I'd like to have all of the, since Chad's recording them, I'd like to see if we can have all the digital recordings of the meetings put on the website so people can not only read the agenda and minutes, but they can also hear it and see what's actually happening. Because, I mean, if you've been here to these meetings, you know that not everything that's said happened, and not everything that's said is put into the minutes. Not because you need to, or not because he's doing something wrong. Just it'd be nice to actually be able to hear it, and that way, if I say something stupid, I can always go back and say, yeah, but I was being kind of an ass.
You're the computer, can you do that?
That's your job, isn't it?
Certainly, you can have somebody, but I don't work for the town, and I'm not contracted with the town, so just a request. If you guys don't want to do it, then so be it. But another question I have is, on June 23rd, I got contacted from Brent Smith about my newest open records request. It was my understanding that the open records request that was not only just for the fire department, just to let you know, that he is also working on that. It was my understanding that the board didn't come to a conclusion on whether my request to the fire department, if they could use the attorney. What's the explanation as to how he's getting a hold of me about my requests? When do they have the permission? Were they given the permission? Was there a special meeting outside of the normal meeting that this was approved?
I guess they called me one day. They were talking about the open records request, and then they were going to get everything together. And then they were going to take it to Brent Smith, or Chad was going to. Did you take it down, or did they? Okay, they must have took it down. And then you were supposed to pick it up from them, I guess, from him.
So they did it without the knowledge of the rest of the board, based on you guys' discussion at the last board meeting.
The one that we're talking about right now, when they called me, was back 2 months ago, probably.
No. This is the one from last month that I
Okay.
submitted. Yeah, no, he contacted me 3 or 4 times about it now.
Okay.
So I'm confused as to how they're using him when they were giving permission to. And I did talk with Supervisor Bromer about it. He said he would follow up. Haven't heard anything, but
Well, all I can tell you, Lee, is I did give him permission a couple of days ago to make contact with him in regard to a matter. But beyond that, I haven't granted them any permission. So.
Yeah, a couple months ago, they called me about taking some open records, and they wanted to know if they could use the town attorney. They were going to take it down to him. Or could they use the town attorney for this open records request? And I said, I guess so. And so the plan was, I guess, is they were going to take it to him.
okay. Mr. Thorne, the comment about frivolous requests, is it your feeling that anybody who questions our government is frivolous?
No, not at all.
Is it your opinion that my right to know and my right to be a good citizen and my right to understand how my government works is frivolous?
No, but I feel that 7 to 9 years worth of records to a volunteer fire department is frivolous. I think if you came up and asked what you're looking for, the fire department would be more happy to accommodate that.
Okay, so for fiduciary purposes, that's 7 years. Is that is the federal government's requirement on keeping records of 7 years? Is that frivolous?
No, I don't think keeping records for 7 years is frivolous, but I think asking for those documents definitely is.
So, but it's my right to know anything that I want to know within my government.
Yes.
And if I request, and if somebody theoretically wants to request all the records from a certain thing for the past 50 years, you guys don't have it organized, or a government organization doesn't have it organized, and it takes you a long time to put it together, that's not the citizen's problem. That's not me being frivolous. That's not me frivolously asking for information. I'm a citizen of this town. I'm a taxpayer. I have the right to know.
Have you been
and
given
because you
open
guys
records?
haven't been able to, you guys were never asked questions. You guys weren't asked questions previous, and now somebody's asking you questions. You're taking it as if I'm attacking you and the department. I should be more specific. Attacking the department, attacking the association, and attacking Mr. Malby. I'm not doing any of that. But I'm asking for the information that I was never granted while I was on that board.
As far as we knew, that 2 years ago, there was never a request for any information.
I didn't open up an open records request. It was a gentleman's request of Mr. Melby that I have some of this information, and since it was never given to me, I just and I kind of slipped my mind. I figured, well, now that I'm not on the board, I can ask for it, and I can ask for it and get the information based on the state of Wisconsin statutes of open records.
And have you been getting those requests?
I have been getting them at about 75%. I still have pieces of my first request from back in April still open yet.
Okay. And I understand what you're saying with the the organizational thing that takes a long time. All of our members are volunteers and have full-time careers. Some of them work 78 hours a week before they come and do the rest of their job. So some of this has taken some time. I know that going through some of these things, Chief Melby himself has spent hours shifting through emails to try to accommodate.
And I'm not being impatient about it at all. I mean, I even specifically told Mr. Smith that that I'm not an irrational person. I do understand that if the records aren't organized, it does take time. And if it takes too much time, then we can drop some of that stuff. He understands that I'm not an impatient person. So if it does take you guys time, I'm fine with that. I just need to know that it's going to take some time to get certain things together. You can't just put a blanket thing on the top and say it's going to take me 6 months to do all of your requests when I've only had 2 of them to you.
Yeah, and I can't answer all those questions because I'm not the one that puts the information together.
But Mr. Melby could.
Possibly, but he's not the one that puts all the information together either. That we have a treasurer, secretary. He's not fully in charge of all this information. So it's been a little painstaking, and there's no doubt about it that in the fire department there is a feeling of harassment a little bit. And I'm not telling you you're harassing us, but there's definitely this is something that's never been approached to the fire department before. So. People are looking at it a little weird, and I think that anybody would. That something gets. Have you requested 7 years of information from other departments?
I have one that's actually being sent out tomorrow to Chad.
Okay. So
it's not just you guys, like I indicated at the last meeting.
Yeah. Hopefully, you understand that people are just offset that way. I mean, it's never happened before.
But at least if it's taking you guys this time, you're putting it together and you're getting it organized for the future in case somebody asks for it.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing.
Yes. And I don't disagree with the open records laws or anything.
So don't refer to my request or anybody's request as being frivolous. An open records request and the right to know is not frivolous, ever. And it should never be thought of or referred to as frivolous.
Okay. Our opinions vary.
Can we, I'm going to have to cut you off, Lee, after we're over that 5 minutes. You got anything else real quick for us?
No, I can open up a records request for them.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
My name is Sue Lynch, and I represent the Home Run Committee.
We'll be bringing that up on the
And I
agenda
see
real
that's
quick.
on the agenda, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Can I get a motion to call the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. I got a motion by Ralph and a second by Terry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to the consent agenda. Items A through C. If there's no action taken on the consent agenda, can I get a motion to accept?
A motion that we accept items A through C.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Kelsey and a second by Mitch. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to business 5A. Now it says Keith Lease here, but request to hold a home run and walk fundraiser on August 5th, 2017.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure who was going to show up to represent for them, so I didn't know if you were going to come or not. Keith is the one that sent me an email on this, so.
He asked me to come.
Okay.
I guess, got anything else for us? It's just a...
They've done it before in the past. I don't remember how many years has this been now.
This will be our 4th year.
4th year, okay. I know in the past there hasn't been any real issues. This year little bit at the wire time, I know, this year, but I guess just like any of the other run walks that we've had in the area, I think as long as the police department is willing to compensate for any traffic or things like that, I would suggest that we look at it, unless, again, the police department has any issues.
Anything?
Officer Casper is my officer in charge of all those events. He was in contact with Keys, other than the fact that it was a little bit late this year. There was absolutely no issues last year with the event. The organization does a very nice job staffing it. Requires minimum resources from us, and we utilize reserves anyway, so there's really no additional cost to the town. And I believe that Keith and Nathan are working on the details. It is on the same day as Rocking the Docks, but I suspect that that's going to be over long before Rocking the Docks starts at 3. So I don't see any issue with the two events. So from the police department, no, absolutely no concerns whatsoever. We're fine with the event.
Can I get a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mitch and a second by Ralph. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to 5B. Approval of Stormwater Management, Public Education and Outreach Cooperative. Agreement for July 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019.
So this was a kind of a two-part sequence in our stormwater group stuff. I know last month we approved, or was it last month or the month before, we approved the funding amounts that we would be willing to contribute. They came back with the proposed agreement for the 2-year, actually it's 2.5-year term for the stormwater. Nothing's changed on it since we've been involved with it, but again, it is one of those items that we really almost have to do it, because on our own we'd never be able to sustain our own funding for it. I mean, we could, but at the expense of a lot of other things. So again, I don't see any issues with the contract. It's written the same as it's been the last 6 years, except for the money part. Again, but we did discuss that at one of the other meetings for our commitment.
Anybody got questions?
I don't.
No? Can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mitch and a second by Kelsey. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to 5C. Approval of a draft for a 10-year contract extension for intergovernmental agreement for the Cross County Household Hazardous Materials Program. Mitch? Yeah.
Yeah, initially when we had meetings on this, the county wasn't covering the costs anymore because the cost of disposing of some of these items had exceeded the money that they were taking in. So we moved it up to $1.25 at that point, and that covered it for now. But now the plan is to have a ongoing increase in that, 5 cents each year. Up until 2022, that'll bring us to $1.50. When we initially sat down to discuss this, we were going to jump to $1.50 in 2018. So the county must have looked at it and said their funding will be adequate to carry them that far. As far as the hazardous waste, it's great. We're a overuser, let's say. When it comes to disposing of hazardous waste, we actually dispose more than what we pay. So we're one of the few communities that has taken advantage of the situation. And the $1.50 per capita is matched by the county. So it costs a household of $6 a year to dispose of all the hazardous waste that you have at your home that you want to get rid of. That's a pretty reasonable price. So it's a great program and very cost effective to the taxpayer.
Any questions? I don't. Can I get a motion to accept?
So just real quick, if I could. So from my understanding, this is just a draft. They're looking for any feedback on this by the end of July. I will probably have to bring this back to you for final approval once everybody's had an opportunity to give their input on the actual thing. But I don't know if you had any if there's any rewrites or any issues, but it doesn't sound like it.
There are no rewrites coming that I'm aware of, but that possibly could change, but I haven't been contacted by
Okay.
Randy over there indicating they're going to change anything, so.
Okay. So again, at a later date, we'll bring it back for final approval then.
So it's just more or less just discussion only right now?
Well, I think we should approve the draft portion of it so we can,
Can I get a motion for the draft for that contract?
Make that motion.
I'll second that. I have a motion by Ralph and a second by Terry. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Move down to 5D, approval of fire EMS officers and non-resident members. Ralph?
Yeah, well, I kind of already elaborated on why this got brought up today. We're trying to, moving forward, make sure we do this the right way. So in the future, when a new officer is appointed, I want to make sure I'm saying this right, we will bring that before the town board and make sure. So how that works is one would be appointed and then it would be approved by the fire board. And then once that happens, it would come here for final approval of any officers or, of course, any non-residential. If there are 4 members on here that aren't residents of the island, there's a little explanation on here as to why they're on the department and their importance to the department. And there's a list of officers and a list of the board of trustees. So I don't know if anybody else had any questions on it.
you said that it comes in front of the fire board. My understanding statutorily, the town board is the fire board, correct?
Well, not the fire board, the board of trustees.
Trustees, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
You know, I only have some concerns on the out-of-town response. Are they responding using a red light?
We're not allowed to use any red lights until we are in the town of Campbell.
Okay.
Which means we've got to be in our jurisdiction before we can use any red lights.
Do you have a written policy on the speed you can drive operating?
Yeah, I'm sure there's an actual. Do you know what the written policy is?
I don't know if it was actually written, but we were informed that we can do like 5 to 10 over, but prudently, you're not going through the school zone doing that. Any school buses, pedestrians, whatever, you're not allowed to go.
Normally, it's with the red light, you're still required to follow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the red light offers you no protection whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just to make sure people see you when you're heading to the station, and hopefully, and a lot of people when they see the red light coming, pull over and let you through. If somebody doesn't, they don't have to, like you say. It does help a lot of times, even going through some intersections and stuff like that. You know if somebody's been pulled over to let you through, and so that's where it speeds you up.
Okay.
And it also,
So no one responding from out of town is turning on that red light till they get to
no,
town of Campbell.
they're not supposed to be.
Okay.
I have a question. For Alex Payne, he doesn't really live at Youngsdale Avenue. That's where his parents reside.
Yeah, and I think
The
that's
only reason I know that is by my parents' house. so.
exactly. I think that's his mailing address, though.
But he lives out of town.
Yes,
correct?
lives out of town.
So,
The reason he's still in the department is he is a first responder and a very good one. And when he is in town is holidays, things like this, when a lot of our other members aren't in town, if that makes sense, because other members would go out of town to see family, but he's coming here to see family. And 9 times out of 10, when he's in town, he's responding to calls. And in his
so this
job,
is incorrect by saying 3135. His actual address where he resides is in Madison.
yes, but I don't know if he's got an actual address there. I don't know why that's in there. But yes, he lives in Madison, and he's on a department there, so he does still train. He's very well trained.
So he's on a different department.
Correct.
And then he volunteers on our department.
He's on another department right now.
Yes.
Does he go to school there? Or?
I think so, or he did.
He did. I know he might even be full-time on the department down there
Is he registered to vote here or in Madison?
in Madison,
He is.
I believe. I I couldn't say for sure, but I'm sure it is.
So are there, I guess, I don't know much about it, but are there rules on being on an actual fire department and then being on a volunteer?
No, that's, no.
My friend of mine was a battalion chief in Rapid City, and he's on the volunteer department where he lives.
So how often does he come back on weekends?
He's probably here 5-6 times a year. But like Ralph said, it's mostly on holidays and stuff, which we're short on coverage because, like Ralph said, more of our members go see other family members out of town.
So are you at max capacity?
We might have room for 1 or 2 right now.
Are you getting adequate applications from the town of Campbell? I mean, town of Campbell residents?
Yeah, we've leveled off for a little while. So I think we might have one turn coming in for an EMS position, so.
Okay.
But we are adequately staffed.
And this is something we're voting on tonight, correct?
Would like to.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate again, as I was last month, and I am going to ask that, Ralph, you need to choose, I think, to not vote tonight since you are on the board of trustees. And it's a fine line.
It is a fine line, kind of. We've checked into the ethics board and stuff, and as long as we're not voting on a pay raise for myself or my family, not only, I find it irresponsible to abstain from the vote personally. I know I'm on the board of trustees, and I understand where you're coming from. Down the road here, I do plan on voting on fire department matters. So
I think that's
I'd like
something that we need to
establish
look into, some kind of something being passed on something, because that would, I mean,
We've checked pretty thoroughly. I've checked
I
pretty
think, yeah,
thoroughly.
that's, also, I think we should open up to public comment if we can do that, something right now in case someone wants to state, just like Bruce had asked.
If I could, this is great. Actually, this is nice that actually we've had some representation from the fire department here, and a couple questions with the non-residency members. Is there, do you have a limit or a cap that you're accepting? Because I could see potential down the road where if you're not getting the participation from residents,
You can go up to 25% of your roster out of residents.
Okay. So are you ever anticipating something like that, or?
Not in the near future. We've got quite a few people from on the island. It fills up the majority of our rosters off the island. Those are the only 4.
Okay. I would hate to see 25-50% of our roster is non-residents.
Plus, then with Act 10 too, we can actually hire. We also got Act 10 that we have to follow that too. Alaska can hire people all the way down to Stoddard if they want.
See, I've never had an issue with going outside. My only thing would always be response time.
Yep.
I mean, doesn't make any sense to have somebody in Stoddard.
It's great to have residents off the island because then they're giving back to the community.
Exactly. I perfectly agree with that.
And with 2 of them actually on that list, Jeff Eiler used to live on the island.
Yeah.
He had to move away due to his wife's.
Yeah, no, I completely understand with Nylander, obviously.
And then Mel is actually his daughter, so I mean it's a family thing right there too. So.
Yeah, and the Jennifer one, since she works here, I mean that's great that you get day coverage, and I'm assuming that the fish lab allows her to leave.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, awesome.
It's a great resource for the community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all I had.
I had asked if we could open it to public comment.
Can we do that?
You could.
Go ahead. Got something
Well,
for
we can
us?
motion.
I would motion that.
Motion to her?
I'll motion we go into public comment.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Kelsey and a second by Mitch. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Go ahead.
Thanks, Terry. My concern is, brought up before about voting on fire department issues. To me, it's a clear example of conflict of interest, without a doubt. And I think the responsible thing to do would be to abstain from it.
I kind of want to set a precedence. Like I said, in the future, I'm not planning on not voting on fire department matters. Unless something's here where, if we're going to be voting on a huge pay raise where it affects me financially or it affects somebody that I know financially, then I would definitely abstain.
Well, the flip-flop thing, one way or the other.
No, actually, we checked. I talked to the attorneys when we went to the classes I went to earlier this year. I went out of my way to talk to them and asked the question, and actually asked both of the guys there. And they said exactly what I just mentioned, is that not only am I allowed to vote, but it'd be almost irresponsible not to. There's a reason I ran. It was to stand in here and represent. And I get what you're saying. If it comes into this point where there's something here that will financially affect me or others, then I will undoubtedly abstain. That I have no problems with that.
Financially, just one part of the whole thing.
Not according to the statutes.
I'd like to see them.
Okay, we could probably get those provided.
Anybody else? Public comment? Anybody else? I guess, can I get a motion to close public comment?
I'll motion to close public comment.
I'll second. I'll second. I got a motion by Kelsey, second by Terry. Any further discussion?
I have one other point. I see on the list here we're being asked to approve officers and trustees, but by the bylaws, officers can't be trustees, and this list has trustees that are officers. So I guess I would like to divide this motion, that we make a motion to approve the 4 non-resident members and hold the rest of it over until that matter is addressed. I don't think that's unreasonable at this point. It is part of the bylaws that trustees can't be officers or vice versa, and so that needs to be addressed before we approve the officer and trustee positions.
I'd like to close the public comment first of all.
Oh, yeah,
Before we do
okay.
that. All right. Any further discussion?
I'd like to discuss, I'm fine with the other 3. I don't feel that someone living in Madison that comes home for 6 weekends is adequate enough to be. So I would motion to approve the first 3, Melissa, Jeff, and Jennifer, and not Alex, because of the distance.
I think the discussion he was talking about would be different than closing the,
Yeah.
we'll be able to discuss again.
Right.
Got it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I could add to that. I get where you're coming from.
Hold that thought.
Let's close it, yeah.
Let's close
Let's
the
close the
public
public
comment
hearing.
first.
And then-
Close public comment. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Now you can talk.
Now we can talk.
Yeah.
Close public comment.
And I get what you're saying. What's nice about that, it costs us nothing to have Alex Payne on the department when he's not here, except for a locker. And if it comes to the point where we need that locker, we can hang his gear on the outside. And like we said, our coverage when we need him is when the holidays, when he's here is when we need that extra
Well,
help.
I know their family's big into it. The whole family pretty much participates.
Well, I don't mean, yeah,
But
his family
they
necessarily.
do get, the fire department, to clarify, you are volunteer, but you do get paid, correct?
Per call.
Per call.
Yes.
And then do you get retirement?
Yes.
Okay, so he's still collecting that, even though he's only working maybe 6 weekends a month, or a year. excuse
Yep.
me. Okay, so back to Meyer. If we're done discussing, I'll motion. Has anything else?
Got anything else, Mitch, you wanna?
No, that was my only concern, was the top part be held over until the trustee and officer issue can be sorted out.
Is that? You can't do both?
I don't think that's actually in the bylaws stated that way. Do you know?
I'd have to go double check it.
Don't worry, I got him.
Okay. Figured you would.
I got everything, anything you could ever want.
Wow. Yeah.
Chief was looking for a pizza.
Do you know what section it was in?
Chad will have to help me on that.
Was it Article 3?
Could have been under, yeah, I think the organization portion.
Yeah. I think maybe the language just
Maybe
needs to
the
be cleaned
language.
up. Yeah. It's worded to indicate that the trustees are not the chief, deputy chief, assistant deputy chief, assistant chiefs, secretary and treasurer.
So the way Article 3 is reading, I think what she's talking about is officers of the membership shall consist of chief, deputy chief, assistant deputy chief, assistant chiefs, secretary, treasurer, and 5 trustees. I think that's the wording in there is probably what
The wording could probably be better defined to indicate that trustees can be those officers.
Yeah.
So it's clear, because it looks like they're separate when you read the article the way it's written.
But really what it's saying is what all's involved in charge of the fire department.
Right. Right.
Because I think the way that that's saying is that you would have 11 trustee members actually, or 11 officers, right?
No, because trustees aren't necessarily officers. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
any member could be a trustee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's basically saying what the fire department would be made of, and it's saying that there would be that amount of officers, and there would be a board of trustees that would be, those people on it.
You guys should probably change that language to indicate that board of trustee members can be officers within the department, so it's clarified.
Can I just make one?
Sure.
That was lawyer talk back when that was written.
Yeah.
I think it says 1987. 1987.
Yeah.
I was
That
a year
was the
old.
adjusted part?
1986.
Are you done with that?
So your motion on that then, you'd rescind that, or?
Yeah, I could rescind that motion and we can incorporate it into that the wording gets changed so it's better clarified that trustees can also be officers. So there's it's in there so it doesn't look like they're two separate bodies and that, trustees shouldn't be officers or vice versa.
Okay, got anything else?
Well, did you motion then?
Well,
You rescinded his first motion.
right. Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that pending the language change that we approve the officers for the fire department, EMS, and the 4 non-residents that are currently working for the fire department.
And then I'll second that, I guess. Any further discussion?
Yeah. I don't think that, like I said, I don't think that Alex, being so far away, should be getting retirement if he's only coming back 6 weekends and holidays. I feel like if you could change your motion to maybe a mileage, so many miles.
But I think he only gets his retirement if he's being paid, right? I mean, or is that a separate issue?
Chad?
Yeah, how was it based?
It is based, I believe you do base it still on the 12 months of service.
Okay.
It's not based on
Calls per se?
calls.
Okay.
It goes off of what you earn in a year. That's part of the factor in your retirement. So if you put in a lot of time, your chunk that you get is more than somebody who...
I would disagree. I've never seen anything prorated. Everybody's always got equal amounts as long as you're active.
Any further discussion?
Does that retirement come out of the town of Campbell, or is that out of the 60% fund?
Comes out of 2% state dues. So it's not even coming out of the town's budget, it's coming from the state.
Correct. I wouldn't disagree that the board has chosen to take those 2% fire dues and give them to retirement, and what you do with them is what you do with them.
Right.
I wouldn't disagree.
So the money is originally from us, given to the state, and this is
I would say more so the thing that you have, the issue that you have is more internal with the fire department on how they distribute those funds.
sure.
And if they feel that they want to split it up evenly amongst their, that's what they want to do.
Any further discussion? No? Kelsey? Right? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries. Let's move down to ordinance number 2017-3, amending section 32-8-4 and 32-46B, and to repeal and recreate section 32-47 relating to administrative review of certified survey maps. Chad?
Good news is half of you were at the meeting the other day, so what we're looking to do is, since you two were there, well, you were there, basically what I'm asking for is, a few years ago when we took over our own zoning, any certified survey maps, for whatever reason, the board decided at that point to have those go in front of the plan commission, go in front of the town board, and frankly, if the lot that they're looking to have the certified survey map done on conforms with the zoning code, all we're really doing is overcharging the resident and delaying basically what they need to do with their lot. So I'm asking that we kind of do not kind of, but what the county does, and they have authorized one person, a designated person that would do an administrative review, make sure that that certified survey map meets the criteria to be a conforming lot that conforms with the zoning code. That way we can get those certified survey maps signed, dated, they can get them down to the deeds office recorded, and they can move along with their business. So basically what I'm asking for here is that we change it, that whoever would be delegated as the zoning administrator would have that authority to make sure that those lots are conforming. If they're not, at that point they can always do like any other appeal, and appeal in front of the plan commission and the town board for variance approvals. But just trying to save the residents a little bit of money, a little bit of time from a lot that's conforming, that really at the end of the day, if it's conforming, we couldn't deny it anyways. So that's what this ordinance does, is it just allows for administrative reviews so that they can.
Any questions, Ralph?
I don't.
Okay. Kelsey?
No, I was there.
You were there?
Yeah. Oh, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that. I have a motion by Mitch, second by Terry. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to public comment. Can I get a motion to go into public comment?
I'll motion to go into comment.
I'll second that. I have a motion by Kelsey and a second by Terry. Any further discussion? I'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Who wants to start?
I want to start. Kelsey Craig, 2500 First Avenue East. Mitch, you had said that you had okayed the fire department to use the town attorney on a matter a few days ago.
Thursday, I believe it was.
After we had discussed
Yeah.
and motion died that we were making them come back to us with more information on the reasons why
Right.
they
Well, I knew what the basic information was when they made the request, and I said they can make the phone call. And I said run that through Terry as well, because he's actually in charge of the fire department, not me, although the funds come out of my budget for the legal fees. But so yeah, I approved that particular question. It was something that can't be discussed in open session, let's put it that way. So
I'm going to go ahead and assume that out of all board members, I'm the only one that doesn't know anything about it.
I don't know.
It's a good
I
way to
can
feel.
I can bring you up to speed.
Thank you. That'd be
Yeah.
really awesome.
Okay.
That's all I have on that. As far as the recordings on the website, I can check into that. Chad, so you can not have to worry about that. Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, Terry, this one's for you.
Yeah.
Back in November, I requested a meeting with you about some things in the town, and you come in this very room with myself and Chad Hawkins and you, and I brought up the issue about the town board using the training room, and I was kind of blown away because when I got to that part of it, you stood up and told me to get screwed and you walked out. And I was that kind of any way for a town chairman to act?
Probably not, but I kind of blew up and I walked out of the room. I'm sorry, Bruce.
Yeah, I would hope in the future that, you know, you'd be a little more accommodating, not only myself, but anybody else. 'Cause to me, it was very unprofessional. And by the way, what's the status on that room?
Well, I don't know. It's, with Ralph here now, it might be a little better if you guys need to get in there for something. I'm sure you've got keys to get in there or whatever.
No, actually, I don't. There's only, I don't know how many people have a key.
Fire officers,
And
and the secretary, and the treasurer.
I mean, not that I couldn't make a phone call to somebody that does, or we can make a list available of those that do. You know, a big part of the issue with the room is there's sometimes paperwork and stuff that's, you know, possibly here and whatnot that couldn't be put away if we knew somebody was going to meet in there. So if somebody needed to use the room, and Mike's accommodated before, it's just a matter of giving us a little bit of notice, because once again, you know, it's a volunteer department. It's not like we have somebody full-time sitting there that can open the door.
Isn't there a room in there that you can secure all your stuff?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that. Yeah, and it can be. That's what I'm saying. Is you know, with HIPAA, we're not just protecting us. We're protecting anybody that would be in that room. You don't want to get hit with those kind of fines. And we don't. You know, we have no problem with people if somebody needs to use the room. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but I don't see why there's any issue with somebody using the room if you know, for a particular reason. We just need some notice. Is all.
Well, I find it kind of strange that the fire department can hold the town board hostage by not letting them in there. Like Chad Hawkins, he's even got a key to the police department. Why can't he have a key? He's here every day to let people come and go in there. I don't understand where.
I don't think that, even though that there's a key available, I don't think people are just letting people come and go in the police department.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is he could be trusted with a key in case somebody from the board or whatever needs a place to meet with somebody that's a little more accommodating than the boardroom. I don't see any reason why he can't be trusted with a key and use it if he's got to meet with a vendor or whatever. I don't see why we're held out of there. Do you, Terry?
I don't know. It's like he said that they have something they had left there on the counter by the computer or
they
something.
got a room to secure all that stuff, you know.
But what if they left it out, I guess?
Yeah.
Well,
Doesn't HIPAA standards also require that you put that stuff away when you're done doing records, not just leaving it sitting out?
Yes, most likely, but you know, not everybody's perfect every time. So,
Yeah, but being HIPAA certified requires that you know that that's the case.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with HIPAA records, you're supposed to know all about your HIPAA regulations.
if the door's locked, it's secured, isn't it?
Fair enough.
Why can't the clerk be trusted with a key then?
It's not about trusting the clerk or not. I've kind of
That's what it is.
We have no problems letting somebody use the room. I just said that. And, you know, if anybody's got a meeting that's going to take place, I would assume they're going to know that ahead of time.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
I don't. If these are meetings that got to take place during the day, there's a large room right here that can be used.
It isn't always accommodating to some of the meetings too, because if you remember back, we did some interviews with, I believe it was people for the maintenance department, and at that time we were fortunate enough to use it, and then we had a fire department member sitting out in the hallway hollering when we were in there trying to interview, and there's 2 more interviewees out here in the lobby, and again, that was kind of unprofessional.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. So.
Well,
I probably wouldn't be though.
Yeah, well, the chairman does too, so.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't have a key to the room, so some of these things.
Well, yeah, but like I say, I mean, you know, why can't Chad be trusted with a key? I mean, he's responsible for the town finances, the town records, and he's here every day. What's wrong with kind of having him in charge of the room during the day?
Yeah.
If he can't be trusted, I don't think anybody can.
We'll get him HIPAA certified then.
That too.
It's a possibility that, and I'm not in charge of our board. I'm just on it. It would have to be something that probably came before the fire board, board of trustees. If you know, if that's something that wanted to be looked at by your board, and welcome to come and ask, I guess.
Well, like you say, I mean, to me, it's a little ridiculous that, you know, holding the town hostage on that room. I just don't see it. You got a room that you can secure everything. When you guys are done, secure it. Somebody, whatever the reason might be, they need a meeting room during the day. Chad, ask him.
I guess that's the point. We do have a room that we can secure it in, and that's where it's at. It's in
Well,
there
you have a
secured.
room inside that room that you secure, correct?
And we do also have another room that you're more than welcome to use. That's rarely.
Oh.
You do have a key to the other room, don't you?
I do.
So you're more than welcome to use it all you want. Just not that
Yeah,
particular one.
it just don't make sense that this room is just so sacred that only a select group can get in there.
It's no different than, I'm just making a comparison. I'm not trying to pull the police department into it, but it's no different. People don't just come and go into the police department whenever they want.
Well, exactly, but Chad has got a key to get in there. If and when he needs to get in there, he's trusted with that. Why can't he be trusted with a key for that? It's that simple. That's the short and long of it.
Okay.
No, really.
Got anything else, Bruce?
That's it for now.
Thank you. Anybody else?
This might be beat up on the fire department night.
It is.
Go ahead.
I have a question about that. Earlier, not the beating up on them, do you agree with them? I know better. So, I guess maybe a better discussion would be in the whole situation is drawing the lines and understanding where the fire association, where the fire department, and where the town board and the fire board actually sits. Or their responsibilities on each one, because as far as when I was on the board, I was confused whether the town board ran the fire department or the association ran the fire department, or the association was a committee, a quasi-committee that recommended things to the town board, or if the town board was completely out of it. I guess there needs to be some gray area that's made more black and white.
There's no doubt about it that with a volunteer department, it gets a little confusing.
Well, I have a feeling that not all volunteer departments are like this one. I mean, Campbell in itself, we're just different.
Yeah.
We're different people.
You're right. You've got an outstanding volunteer fire department. Yeah, and you're probably right. There should be some clear lines drawn. I think that would help eliminate a lot of what's going on.
And I think a discussion amongst everybody, all you guys, the fire association, the chiefs, everybody, that would be a really good thing to move forward. That way we don't have to deal with the 45 minutes of talking about the same thing over and over and over.
I agree.
See, I'm not irrational here.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Go ahead.
Matthew Van Loon, 506 Olivet Street. With the lacrosse thing looming in the future, what does the town have to do to make sure all the ducks are in the row, that it remains independent at that point? That's my question for you guys to research, to come back with answers like, has to be this, this, and this, and this. If we don't have this, it falls apart.
I'm going to say probably the most important thing from my research and what I think, securing water. I know that was not a good subject a few years ago, but we are close to that, and if we need to start looking at it, I think securing our own water source and making sure that our residents have adequate water is going to be number one key. And we can't wait until 0 hour to start looking at it.
But I think there's more than just one aspect that's to be looked at.
I think we meet the requirements for all other things, but when I look at our REUs, our residential equivalent units every year that we do for our utility, and I look at the list of commercial properties right now that are plugged into the city of La Crosse's water, that water agreement says that at 2035, they automatically become annexed into the city. Water, I think, is our biggest thing.
When does that come up, Jim?
At the end of 2024. And I know everybody's against a water tower or something like that.
I think the airport's our biggest objection to that.
But
Put a gate on the interstate.
I'm just saying, it's going to take years to put an infrastructure together for that, and we can't wait till 2023 to think about it. That's my 2 cents on it.
Can't you do a water district then?
At the end of 20, I'm saying we can't wait till 2023 to start going, oh my God, we need to start looking at how we're gonna secure our water source. Because it's gonna take years of engineering, development, putting the infrastructure into place. My 2 cents again is water is the most, to answer your question, Matthew, I think water is the biggest key.
Yeah, I understand that water would be an issue, but then having police department, having a fire department, and all these other, the streets and roads and all this other stuff, all has to come together to make the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there certain standards that the police department has to be at for, I'm just asking, or the fire department has to be at a certain capacity to do things. Streets and roads have to be able to do something in so much time or something. I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
Those are good
Because
questions. I don't know the
it's
answers.
something we need to get the ball rolling. If, like you said, it's gonna take years to do all these things. I know they were trying at the end of Callaway there to try to get a well going. And that, I don't know whatever happened to that. They quit pumping or it wasn't enough. I don't know what the deal was there.
There's
But
too much money.
what's that?
I said that was kind of a money hole over there too.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I noticed they were pumping stuff and
Hundreds of thousands we spend over there for nothing.
Nope, those are good questions, and obviously the boards coming forward have to be able to answer those, and I think quickly, because it's right around the corner. It's not gonna go away.
And I think we need to start back what we learned when we were very little, that we all need to get along. Like, we can't be at each other's throats. We're not gonna get anywhere not getting along or understanding each other and
You're right,
things
there's
like
certain
that.
people that run around talking trash about the fire department and whatnot around town.
So, either way, we just all need to get along, otherwise we're not gonna get very
You're
far.
one of them.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody? I guess, can I get a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mitch and a second by Kelsey. Any further discussion? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Can I get a motion to adjourn? That concludes our business. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Okay. I'll second it. I have a motion by Ralph, a second by Terry. Any further discussion? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming.